Hello, hello. Welcome to Homeschool Moms Unfiltered. We are your messy, imperfect homeschool mom friends. I'm your host, Amanda, and this is my awesome co-host.
Hello, I'm Megan.
Hey. All right. So, would you look at that? You've joined us for our last Unfiltered Bite. Next week, we're diving back into our regular full-length episodes. Are you ready for it?
So ready.
I got to admit, I'm not entirely sure I'm ready. I don't know. We always take a few weeks off in January, and everyone always talks about like hitting the restart button and like how great it is after the holidays. We're a slow roll. It takes us a while to get back up to full speed in January. I don't know, man. So yeah, I could definitely use a little bit more time. But all the same, next week, we'll have a regular podcast show on Tuesday and our newest book club, which is actually Soul School by Amber O'Neill Johnson, on Thursday. If you can't read it, no worries. Definitely come and listen because it's super exciting stuff. Amber will actually be joining us on the podcast at the end of the month. So we'll get a chance to talk about her book for a few weeks, and then she'll be here so we can nicely grill her with all of our unanswered questions. So yeah, whether I'm ready or not, January is shaping up to be a great month here at Homeschool Moms Unfiltered.
I love it. All right, but for today, we're talking about audiobooks that we've enjoyed for family read-alouds, long car trips, or just whenever you enjoy consuming content. So we had so much fun a little bit ago doing our board game lightning round that we decided to do it again. So here we go. We each have 60 seconds to name a book and describe why we love it and why we think you might love it as well. So I am up first. I got to get my 60-second timer here. Dun, dun, dun. Okay, here we go. So first of all, I'm going to say, if you're listening with little ears around, pause, listen to this part as a solo adult, because I am going to say something that could ruin some magical components of childhood as part of my review. Okay, having said that, my first pick is Trevor Noah's Born a Crime. The audiobook is fantastic because he reads it out loud. I love it when people read their own book. His comedic timing is ridiculous. His knowledge of language, ridiculous. His accent's ridiculous. The guy somehow manages to blend the weight of apartheid and the humor that he found in life, and just he blends the two together so beautifully. It's amazing. I have 20 seconds left. I'm going to say there's two versions. There's the adult version and there's a YA version. There is no audiobook of the YA version. In the adult version, there's language, which doesn't bother me, but I'm letting you know it's there. More important, what you might care about more than the language is he spoils some Christmas magic in it, where he talks about when he finds out the reality of Christmas magic. So just saying, if you are listening with young learners, that might be an issue. I heard it coming. I skipped it and I said, oh, Audible's behaving so strangely, and then just skipped over it. So we made it work, but just letting you know, it's in there. Okay. But it's amazing.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah. We haven't listened to the audiobook as a family, but we have the adult version and the young adult version. We really are big fans of Trevor Noah here in our house as well. My husband and I actually went and saw him live. It was a great show. So yeah, big fans of Trevor Noah.
Love it.
All right. So my 60 seconds. All right. I'll go ahead and start my timer, and then I'm going to give my caveat. So I feel like a terrible homeschool parent because we don't really enjoy read alouds. We don't do this audiobook together business. Like, this is just not our speed. So if you're listening and you're thinking like, oh, do we have to do this thing? Like, you can homeschool just fine without doing this thing. So for me, my first pick is the Revisionist History podcast. It is done by Malcolm Gladwell and his whole production company. It is great. They go into all kinds of interesting different things. They talk about all sorts of different stuff. My family loves it. This is the number one thing that we listen to when we're in the car on road trips, or even just kind of driving a couple hours here or there, because that's the world we live in. Lots of great stuff. I think it's pretty open. I can't think of any episodes we've listened to where I wouldn't want kids to hear it. But I do think it's important that you're aware of the fact, like, it might not be everyone's speed. And there's my timer.
Oh, I got to get mine. I was so intently listening that I set my phone down and I'm like, oh no. Okay. 1 minute timer.
I know. And then the screen, like in 1 minute, your screen comes on and then your screensaver, and then you got to undo it.
Yeah.
It's surprisingly hard.
All right. I'm hitting start. So, okay, I will say we don't do a ton of read alouds, right? Ours tend to be road trip things, right? And sometimes they're preparation for a trip, which is where I get my second one, which is The Baker's Secret. So I will say The Baker's Secret, there's two components of The Baker's Secret. There's one where the main character kind of talks about kissing and making out with her boyfriend before the war, and there was some petting involved. And then there's a woman who is a little bit more sultry than the main character, and it's set during World War II, and she has a relationship with a German soldier. And so you hear a little bit about like her bosom and her gentleman collar and whatever. She really has a relationship with him because she's starving. I mean, that's what it is. So we're not judging this woman, but it's an amazing, the writing is freaking amazing. The way the author describes things is so beautifully done. Like he never refers to them as Germans. He refers to them as like the invaders and their guttural language and things like that. But it boils down to it's this one central woman who has this whole network that helps keep her village alive during World War II and leads up to the invasion of Normandy. It's amazing. So highly recommend we listen to it before we went to Normandy, which is why it was one of our read alouds.
Perfect. All right. So here I'll start my timer. All right. My second one is another podcast. We really enjoy Homeschool History. It's a podcast that's put out by BBC Radio 4. It's literally just Homeschool History. It's a little hard to find if you're doing it by voice. We'll drop a link to the Spotify version in our show notes so you can find it. It's just, again, interesting history. It covers it well. It's geared towards you maybe an elementary age kiddo with how it's fun, but it's new information. Like every episode that I've listened to, I've been like, oh, I didn't know that. And I consider myself fairly well educated around those kinds of things. It's not necessarily my jam, but it's my kiddo's jam. So I feel like I've learned a lot of history, right? So yeah, I think it's great. There's not a ton of episodes, but a great place to start. It's fun. It's a good place to kind of jump off on other conversations about like, oh, did you know that? Or does this apply to that? Or that kind of thing. So again, Homeschool History podcast from BBC Radio 4. Perfect timing.
Have you ever tried The Stuff You Missed in History Class? Have you tried that one yet? It's a podcast.
I haven't. No.
I have a history nerd student who's just the sweetest teenager, and he loves that one. And there's also one that's famous speeches throughout history. And so a lot of them are politics and things like that throughout history. And he raved about both of those. So those might be fun for your kiddo to try as well. The Stuff You Missed in History Class. And I forget what the favorite famous speeches one was, but you could probably find it if you Google famous speeches podcast.
The thing I'm going to say is my kiddo would probably enjoy those. My husband would not. And the two that I've given so far are ones that my husband has enjoyed as well. And we can all listen to it. So
Nice.
It's good for those who aren't into history, those who are into history. It's like a really approachable and interesting way of looking at things and talking about things. So you don't have to be history nerds to enjoy those two podcasts.
Well, that's good. I like that. Yeah. And then you pick up some extra stuff. All right. My last one, setting my timer. Okay, my last one is Where the Red Fern Grows. The audiobook is exceptional. We all cried. I will say if you have a super sensitive kiddo, not the book, right? So my youngest, there's no way on this green earth he's ever going to read Where the Red Fern Grows. Ever, ever, ever. He was at one time taking a class and Wonder was part of the thing. There's no way the kid is ever reading Wonder. Like he tried watching the movie at one point and I've never seen him so, I mean, it took him like a week to recover. So, but Where the Red Fern Grows, it's a super old book. It's amazing, but it's just like one of those books that's going to tear you apart from the inside out, but yet somehow you enjoy it at the same time. It's just so well written and so moving and so meaningful. So I did it with my older two, not the youngest one. And he's 13 now. It's not like he's a baby, but he'll still just never listen to something where there's harm to an animal or anything like that. So it's one of those like books that we all read, I think, in school, but it's sometimes forgotten. Well worth going back to. My time's up.
There we are. You brought up Wonder. I don't actually know if there's an audiobook version of it, but we enjoy the movie. And we just actually rewatched the movie because did you see there's a sequel to the movie out? It just came out. And so we're wanting to watch the sequel.
I haven't. The trauma from the first one was so extreme that it's like Voldemort from Harry Potter. It's like the book that shall not be mentioned. Like it's just it was bad. It was really, really bad. So, but I'll have to tell my older kids, maybe they'll want to sneak it in if they're keen.
Yeah, well, the sequel, it follows the kid who got expelled from school,
Ah,
and his new life in his new school. And so I saw the trailer and was like, oh, we should revisit the whole thing so that we have a better understanding of the sequel,
yeah.
maybe on Netflix or something like that. And I'm going to leave it at that. I truly, like I said, we don't do audiobooks together as a family. And so those two podcasts are the ones that we most enjoy. I'm not going to give you anything else. I didn't have anything that I felt like was an authentic recommendation. I was like, I could go looking for things, but yeah. So
I like
there we
it.
have it. I think that's it for us today then. Yeah. So we'd love to invite you to our Facebook group. We are always truly at least once a month there's a thread looking for book recommendations, whether it's for moms and teens to read together or an advanced elementary reader who needs a new series. This is totally our jam. We would love for you to come join our Facebook group, pretty obviously called Homeschool Moms Unfiltered. And you can join in and throw ideas out and just help brainstorm with other progressive secular homeschoolers. We definitely hope to see you there. And in the meantime, happy homeschooling.
Have an awesome day.